Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to another video. I am so excited to do this video today. I think a lot of you are going to love what I'm about to show you. And besides the Dutch pour I'm going to do, you can use this recipe for other techniques that you want to try. Now, I personally have only tried this with a ring pour and a Dutch pour, but experiment. The world is yours, my friends. Anyway, we have these beautiful pigments called primary elements. And the number one question I always get asked is, can you use these with Floetrol? The simple answer is no, not with Floetrol itself, okay? You can use Floetrol in combination with other things to use these beautiful pigments, but you cannot use it by itself because Floetrol is not a binder. Primary elements, as you know, are a pigment, a powder pigment, okay? And they need something to make them stick to the canvas when it dries. So, for instance, Fluidart sells Vivid Enamel, or they sell Vivid Polypore. I'll show you a bottle of that. And these two products are designed specifically to work with their product called Primary Elements. But what happens when you run out of this and maybe you don't have the money to buy these products and you want to use your primary elements? Well, I'm going to show you a substitute that will work. And I loved the effect that I got using this recipe. So let's get started. So the first thing we have to do is we have to make our own special pouring medium. And what is a pouring medium? A pouring medium, you can buy a pouring medium from the store, okay? Or you can make your own pouring medium out of several different things. This is only one way of making a pouring medium, but this is the one way to make it for primary elements. If you're doing regular acrylic pouring where you don't want to use primary elements as a color, then you can use all different types of ingredients. I have a video, I'll link it at the end of this one, with 6 different recipes for just your average acrylic pouring that does not include these powdered pigments. But when you're using a powdered pigment, as I mentioned, you need to make a pouring medium that has a binder in it if you don't want to purchase one of their products made specifically for the primary elements. So, Liquitex pouring medium is a pouring medium. And while you can use just this to use your primary elements in a pour, there isn't enough binder in this. So we need to make something that has enough binder in it. What will happen if you use a product that doesn't have binder is your painting will dry and the powders, that the primary element colors, you can literally wipe it with your finger and it'll come off because there is no binder. And that's the problem with just using Floetrol with these. Not to mention it will dull the color if you use a lot of it. So another way that I've seen people do is they add a little bit of the primary elements to their paints. But the problem with that is you're not getting the true color of the primary elements. You're blocking the shimmer and shine. You'll see some of it, yes, but not the full strength of it. So with this recipe here, we're going to do, you will see the full color of primary elements, okay? And this will be also mixed in to your tube paints, because when you use primary elements, another mistake people make, they use all primary elements and no tube paint colors, and that's a no-no. Why? Because these are semi-transparent, they're see-through, and what happens when they layer on top of each other in your painting, you may have a beautiful green and a blue and a purple, but when they're on top of each other and you're seeing them through your painting, the color doesn't look right. It looks dark, okay? Because you're seeing all those different layers. You need something like a tube paint to balance it out. So my rule of thumb when I do a painting with one of these or some of these primary elements is I either have equal amounts of paint to primary element colors. So I'll have 3 different tube paints, 3 different primary elements, or I'll have more tube paints and less of these. So 4 tube paints, 2 primary elements, or 3 primary elements. It just helps your painting a lot. Trust me, the contrast, it'll be amazing. So you always want to use a tube paint color when you're using primary elements. So how do we make this pouring medium, this magic pouring medium? And I have tested it. It works. Like I said, I did doing a Dutch pour. I did try a ring pour. The rings stayed together. So we have the Floetrol. We're going to add some glue as a way to stabilize this mixture that we're making. And also it acts as a binder. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the enamel. Now, if you don't have the enamel, a substitute for this would be a product that has a high amount of polymer in it. And how do you know that? You look on the back and it will tell you, okay, produced with 100% acrylic polymer dispersion. This is a good product to replace this. Now, you're going to need some type of a binder if you want to use these with Floetrol. There's no questions asked. You cannot just use these with Floetrol if you want to see the true color of them. I mean, if you want to have some dull, tiny bit of sparkle colors, then you go ahead and do that. But if there's no binder, they're not going to stick well. They're going to bleed, which will bring me to another area of this after. But so you need something that has a high polymer in it. So Golden makes a few of these gel products that you can get at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. I'll put it in the Amazon shop. They make, Liquitex makes a few that I will put in there also. As long as the label says that it's produced with a high number, this one happens to be 100% acrylic polymer, it will work, okay? Now, this is regular gel. It's a gloss. It works as a, see, it's a heavy body, so we're going to be using water to thin it down. But I'm not going to use this today. I'm going to use this in place of it, but we still need to add water. So what I'm going to do right now is what you're going to do with either this type of product or this one, okay? So first things first, let's do our measurements for our homemade pouring medium. Now, this amount will be enough to do a Dutch pour for up to a 12 by 16 canvas. If you need to make more of the pouring medium, just double the amounts, okay? So into here, I am going to put 1 tablespoon of glue. Get your pencils. So 1 tablespoon of glue. Then I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of the Vivid Enamel. And again, if you don't have it, just buy one of the Golden products. I will list them in the description and put them in the Amazon shop also, as I said. So we're going to put 1 tablespoon of this in there. Okay. Again, this will be enough medium to make a painting that is up to a 12 by 16 canvas. Next, we're going to add a teaspoon, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon of water. So I'm just going to fill this up half the way with the water. Okay. And then for the Floetrol, I'm going to add in 3 ounces of Floetrol. So I'm going to get my little measuring cup here. Or actually, you know what? I could just use my scale. I forgot I brought it in here. So I'm going to put in 3 ounces of Floetrol into my cup. Now I have to clear it out to it's at 0. I have this wonderful cap on my Floetrol bottle. Well, now I can't get the Floetrol cap off. Hold on. Sometimes I have a problem with my hands. So see this cap? It's made specifically for the Floetrol bottles. It's in my Amazon shop. I absolutely love it. And it strains your Floetrol for you, so that you don't have to strain it, because Floetrol gets lumps in it. So now we're going to add in 3 ounces of Floetrol. This little cap was the best invention ever, I swear. So we're just going to keep going till it hits 3 ounces on the scale. And by the way, this pouring medium that I've just made is a really nice consistency. Let's get this out of the way. I don't know why I put that cap on, because I still need it for my white paint. I'm also going to show you how to mix up that white paint for a Dutch pour. So this is a really nice consistency once you mix it up. And once you mix this up, now you're good to mix in your primary elements, your tube paints, whatever colors you want to use. Okay? The white that you use for your base color on your Dutch pours is just going to be mixed with Floetrol, not all of this stuff. This is just for your colors that you're using. So it's a really nice consistency. Okay? Now, if you're using a fluid type of paint, so golden, you know, the little bottles of fluid paint, I don't have any right now on me. Those, if you add to this pouring medium, you won't have to add any water. But if you use tube paints, it's going to thicken it up a little bit on you, so you're going to have to add a little bit of water. So let me show you here now. I have, I believe, 7 colors I'm using. 2, 3. I'll put out 6 and use that for the 7th. I'm going to divide this into 7 equal portions. And don't worry, I'm only going to mix up 1 tube paint and 1 primary element with you, so you don't have to sit here and watch all this. Okay. So the first one I'll mix up is a tube paint. This is Holbein's Luminous Violet. And into this cup, I'm going to add about a lima bean size of paint. Give it a good mix. And then you're going to see the consistency is thick now. So this is where we add just a little more water. And I mean a little bit at a time, until you get back to this consistency that you first had. Okay? So I don't need much. Maybe, just maybe a couple of drops. That was probably like 4 drops of water. And now it's back to where I need it. Okay, so that's good. Now we're going to do a primary element, which we're going to use pink parasol. Actually, I'll mix up the black orchid first so you can see how pretty that one is, because the other ones I'm going to do off camera. But I will show you what I have in stock. So I would say there's a 1/2 ounce of medium in here, if that, maybe a third or a quarter. So for a quarter, just a little bit on the end of the tongue depressor you can start with. Mix it up. And if you feel you need more, then just add a little more, which I do feel I need a little more. Never stick a dirty stick into your dry pigment jar. Always get a new one. And just add a little bit at a time until you get where you want to be. Okay? And I am now where I want it to be. So let me just show you this. You know, mix them in really good. It's a nice, deep, deep black orchid color. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Okay? If you're new to my channel, I do have a coupon, 20% off, no minimum order. You go to Fluidart. The link is in the description along with the coupon code, which will save you the money. Okay, so I'm going to mix up the colors and I'll be right back. Not sure if you can see the twinkle in the jar here. You see that twinkle? See that? No glitter in here. That is the interference mica twinkling. It's so pretty. Okay, teaching moment. Remember how I made this color and I only used 4 drops of water to get it to the right consistency? Now watch this. I'm going to mix up this last color with you, which is my gold that I'm using, which is the 24 karat gold. And because this is a thicker bodied paint that has mica in it, it's going to be a lot thicker than that color right there. So this is what we talk about consistency. So I'm just going to dip my stick in there and grab a little tiny bit to start with. Okay, because you don't want to add more than what you need. First off, you're wasting product, and second off, you don't want it to be way too thick. And now, obviously, that is not the same color gold that is in this jar. So we're going to add a little tiny bit more with a clean stick. You can wipe your sticks off and reuse them after they dry. So I just drizzled a little more in there. Gonna give it a whirl. Still not enough for my liking, so add a little bit more. Oh, we need a little more than that. Give it a mix. And we still need more. A very large blueberry size more I just added. So now this is the color that I want. But now look how much thicker that is. So this is an example where I'm going to have to add way more than 4 drops of water. So you have to think of each color as its own little tiny recipe, okay? The pouring medium that goes into them are the same. but the amounts of water are different. And once you learn those consistencies, then you will know. Now, I'm going to do exact measurements on the white paint for the Dutch pour. So when you mix up your paints, if you can follow that recipe, because you can always use extra white paint, just put a glove over the top of the cup and save it for the next time you pour. If you follow that recipe that I'm going to give you for the white paint, you will know what the correct consistency of these colors should be, because they should all match the white paint, the thickness. So this is much better. That took 2 caps of water. I believe it was 2. I hope it wasn't 3. Well, you watched the video. Rewind it. See how many caps I just dumped in there. I think it was 2. So now the colors are mixed up. I'll show you them really, really quick. This is the Black Orchid from Primary Elements. This is just Dioxazine Purple from Liquitex. This here is called Muted Violet, and it is from Liquitex. This is the pink Parasol Primary Elements color that I showed you. Okay, you just saw the gold, and this was the Luminous Violet by Holbein. I also mixed up one Blingit Interference. This is blue. I love the way blue interference looks with violet toned paints. And you won't be able to see it, but when it dries, you'll see a blue shimmer going throughout the painting because of this here. So now we're going to skip over to the white paint. So here is the recipe I want you to follow so that you know what a correct Dutch pour consistency is. Okay? I'm going to make myself a big cup of paint. Save your plastic cups. They come in handy. So this is a 32-ounce cup, but we're not going to care about the measurements of this cup. We're going to care about what I put into it. So into this cup, I am going to put in, let's do, let's see, I was going to say 5, but let's try 6 ounces of your favorite white acrylic paint. Brand does not matter. The fluidity, how thick it does. So we have 6 ounces of paint, which now means if we want to do a 2-to-1 ratio with the Floetrol, we're going to put 12 ounces of Floetrol in here. Okay? You can do 1-to-1. You can do 2-to-1, whatever you want. So there's our 6 ounces of paint. Now I'm going to fill this up first to, well, that stick's not going to work anymore because it's too deep of a cup. First, we're going to fill it up to 8 ounces, and then I'll do 4 ounces. Okay? So there's 8 ounces of Floetrol. Do you have to use this much Floetrol? No, you can use less, but you're going to end up using more water to thin it out. And water and acrylic paint are not, they do good together. Once you hit a certain percentage and you have more water than paint in there, then your paintings will, you know, crack over time, peel. So there's the 12 ounces of Floetrol added. Okay? So 6 ounces of paint. Boy, did I just make a mess. And 12 ounces of Floetrol. This is for a big batch of white paint. Okay. Then what we're going to do is mix those two together first. Here we go. We're going to mix them together. And now I'm going to tell you how much water this takes. I'm going to add it in, and I'm going to keep track with the scale so you have an exact measurement. So 6 ounces of white paint. It has to be, for my recipe right now, you have to use a medium type of paint like I did, like the Artist Loft. Deco Art would be too thin for this measurement. You would have to adjust it. This is just for this Artist Loft paint or anything that is similar to it. So this right here, this is a lot more runnier than Artist Loft is. Not sure if I have a paint. This is more thicker than Artist Loft, so you would have to adjust. But it's not hard to adjust. Do the same measurements. It's the water that you need to adjust. Okay? So now we're going to put this on here. Well, I'm going to take the stick out first because that matters in the weight. And I'm going to hit the tear button. And because I know how much water I'm going to need to add in here, I'm going to start by adding in 2.29, so we'll say 3 ounces of water, or 2.30, 2 ounces, 2.30 ounces. Okay, I'm going to mix that up really quick. We're going to have a lot of bubbles in this painting, so I'm not going to let it sit. I'm going to check it. It's very close to being perfect. So here's what we'll do to make your life easier. I'm going to bring this to an even 3 ounces of water added to this. Okay, 3 ounces even. So there is your measurement for a medium flow acrylic paint like Artist Loft. You need 6 ounces of paint, 12 ounces of Floetrol, 3 ounces of water, and it is a perfect consistency for a Floetrol, for a Dutch pour. All right, so now we're gonna set up and we're gonna do this. Let me show you how beautiful this recipe works. I was super excited to discover this experimenting. What I have here is a 12 by 16 gallery wrapped canvas. So I got the thick sides taped in the back with my push pins. Okay. And what I'm going to do first is just put some white paint in the center of my canvas. Now, people have always asked, how much paint do I use on my canvas? Well, here's the thing. Put enough paint to cover the surface. You don't want it to be deep. You want it to, I don't know why I said deep that way. You want the surface just to have a thin layer of white paint on it. You want it to be covered, okay? So put it on there, tilt it around, spread it around with your spatula, whatever way you want to do it. Just make sure you get the sides coated nice and you have a nice flat surface on the top. It's that simple, okay? See how the sides are almost coated? This way you don't have to worry about them. Yes, you will always waste a little tiny bit of paint doing this. That is the name of the game, people. If you want to, you can choose to scrape it off of the table and reuse it as a bottom layer for a painting. I find when I do that, it turns into mud, so I don't waste my time. Not to mention, I always like to have either white or black or a solid color. Make sure you get your corners good. Okay, you want to make sure these sides are really nice before you start. Sides matter too, okay? They really do. Okay, so now we have that, and we are going to take our painting and we're going to start putting down some colors. I think I should probably torch first because we do have some air bubbles. Okay, just a quick torching. Nothing crazy. And here we go. So the first color I'm going to put down is a tube paint color. And I'm just going to kind of put it through here like this, okay? Just like so. There we go. Then I'm going to put down my interference blue. Just like that. Okay. Then this Holbein violet. The pink parasol. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I really hope this helps you. The gold. For those that are struggling using their primary elements with anything other than the products that they were originally sold for. Now, I do say, you know, what they were intended for. The products that were made with them work the best. This does work. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it works really good. Okay? So, there you have it. Let me blow this around and we shall be done. Bada bing, bada boom. My camera died. Oh, I'm so sorry. But anyway, you saw the gist of it. I'm going to show you this piece of art now. Here we go. If you see blue, that is the interference. All those beautiful cells. And this stuff just comes to life once you go and put the resin on it. Oh, varnish. If you want to varnish your primary elements, you have to seal them in first because they are water-based. And if you use a water-based varnish, it will reactivate your primary elements. So I suggest using a spray varnish, 2 coats at least on these. And then if you want to go back and varnish them with a brush, you can do that. Or if you want to, you can resin and not have to do all that. I resin, so I just, you know, don't have to worry about sealing them in because resin is not water-based. Okay, so there you have it, my friends. I love you all. And I hope you're all keeping your sanity. And until next time, I guess it's going to be a happy pouring.